All right, man. Welcome back to the No Hedging Podcast. I am your host, Ty the Jet. I got my co-host right here.
Rip 16 to go.
And you know what time it is, man. We're talking about Week 12 recap, Week 12 takeaways, crazy NFL week as always.
Week 13. Correct.
That was Week 13?
It's Week 13, sir.
Damn, Week 13?
We already on Week 13. It's crazy, ain't it?
No, I'm saying last week we recapped
Week 13.
That was Week 13?
Yes,
recap?
we're that deep in the season, sir.
Oh, shit. It's going by a little bit too fast.
It's going by fast,
My
man.
bad.
So Week 13 is a wrap in the books.
Oops.
And it's been chaos. As you can see, it's been a blur.
Mm-hmm.
So, but before we get into that recap, make sure y'all like, share, comment, subscribe. Keep on showing us the love so we can keep showing it right back.
That's right.
And yeah, man, let's get into this chaos that occurred this past Week 13 of the NFL season. So let us know off the muscle what's one of your good takeaways here.
Yeah, I want to start with the game of the week, right? The game that everybody,
the big one,
the big game that everybody's
the
been
big
that was building up to. The 49ers kind of beating the brakes off of the Philadelphia Eagles, you know, on the road actually.
Yeah.
At the link in Philly.
Yeah.
One of my major takeaways from that is obviously we know Philadelphia, they have a tough stretch of games. They played Kansas City, they played Buffalo. Now they play Philly. I mean, they play the 49ers.
Right.
They got the Dallas Cowboys coming up next. So we know they have a tough stretch of games.
And you brought up a good point last week, and I thought about it later. Is like they played 3 games within 13 days.
Yeah.
So they had to play a lot of football.
Yeah, and those, I mean,
coming off of a bye week, and then they had to come play 2 weeks straight.
Right, and then last week they went to overtime.
Right.
With Buffalo.
With the Bills.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, you coming off of overtime game, extenuous game with Buffalo, now coming to
13 quarters of NFL football is a lot of football.
Right, now you about to play the 49ers, who they are hungry, they are mad, they are pissed. They had this game circled since January.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they thought that they were supposed to win that game in the playoffs, which
arguably they should have.
And they could have if they would have had a healthy quarterback.
Right.
So one of my takeaways from that game is that, Philadelphia, obviously they had a tough stretch, but their defense is, they need to step up a little bit in their defense, man. Their defense, and we talked about it for a couple of weeks now, is like their secondary is allowing a lot of yards.
Secondary keep getting cooked.
In this game particularly, they just got out physical. The 49ers was the more physical team and more dominant team on offense. Even on defense, they were a little bit dominant as well. They played good coverage in the secondary. A.J. Brown had a couple good catches, good runs here, but ultimately, they were able to contain him where he could have no big breakout explosive games, right? So they minimized the explosive plays.
Right.
And, Jalen Hurts held the ball a little bit too long, taking some unnecessary sacks I don't think he should have taken. And, yeah, I mean, that was pretty much the game. Debo had a crazy game, 3 touchdowns. But Brock Purdy, man, there's been a lot of conversation about Brock Purdy, whether he's an MVP, he's not an MVP-type quarterback, whatever the case may be. But this dude on the road in Philadelphia, he played great. He threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Granted, and I understand he has, Debo and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle.
He got weapons on weapons.
And Trent Williams, Hall of Famer, right? So he has all the pieces, but I mean.
And Ayuk.
Forgot to mention Ayuk. Got another one there. So
yeah.
I understand that, but that's what it takes. I mean, he can't help that he has those pieces, and people's argument is he's not throwing for all these. It's catch and run, yards after the catch, or whatever the case may be. But for what I see from Brock Purdy is he's making the right decisions. He's throwing it to the right receivers, the people that's open. He's making quick decisions. Right. If he has to run out of the pocket, he's going to scramble, and he's going to either make a throw on the run or throw the ball away. He's not going to take any
Purdy will
side.
go make a play. If he needs to make a play, if he needs to go make a move, he gets some pressure on him, he needs to get up out of there. Purdy makes some solid decisions, doesn't really throw a whole bunch of interceptions either. So, I mean, I think he does make some solid decision making. I get the Steve Kerr kind of like argument. He's walked into this phenomenal situation. It's like Steve Kerr with the Warriors. Like they were already dominant, but then you show up.
Right.
It's like, so it's kind of like that type of argument. But at the same time, it's hard to argue against some of the moves that he's make when he's put into certain positions. So, I mean, I'm not going to fault Purdy for that.
Right. And, I mean, the offense, to be completely honest, this offense wasn't looking this good with Jimmy G at quarterback.
No, it wasn't.
You know what I mean?
It was not.
And
let's be clear about that.
And he had the same players.
Only thing that did change was he got McCaffrey.
Yeah, and then, obviously, the defense is, you know, part of it is helping them as well, right? They got pieces on the defense. But other than that, I mean, Purdy's been doing what he's supposed to do.
I said the only thing that changed is they got McCaffrey. I mean,
yeah, we talking about
it's fucking McCaffrey, but but I'm still not faulting Purdy for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get the arguments about it, but at the end of the day, I still feel like he's playing pretty good situationally and making some solid decisions, which is, you know, primary thing you would need out of a quarterback with that level of talent around them. Like, you need to be a good manager. Because, I mean, I think it's other guys who are pretty solid managers of the football, but I don't know if you insert Baker Mayfield in there or something like that, who's been playing fairly well this season. Does he have the same results as a Purdy?
No.
I don't think so. Is it some other guys you insert in there? Do they have the same results as Purdy? I don't necessarily think so. So I'm going to give Purdy some credit on that one. I'm not just going to throw it all on happenstance. Like,
he deserved it, man. So shout out to the 49ers. They came to play. They were ready, and they delivered on what they said they was going to do. They went out there and they beat the brakes off of the Eagles. I mean, they were healthy. You know, a healthy 49ers team is hard to beat.
I think the Eagles in that spot definitely need to. I don't know what they do this late in the season about the secondary. I don't know if it's somebody that you can get off of free agency or off of maybe practice squad or something. I don't know what they do to help with that secondary, but I think going into the playoffs, they definitely do need to tighten up on the secondary, because if you're going to end up going against one of these other squads like the Chiefs again or going against somebody else deep in the playoffs, you're going to have to play the 49ers again.
And Dallas next week.
And Dallas. So it's some guys you're going to have to deal with. And they got receivers. So you're going to need to do something about the secondary, whether y'all want to admit it or not, because it is problematic against a dominant team.
What you got?
So one of my takeaways was pretty much the whole AFC South, right? I know we talk a lot about NFC South because we're in Atlanta, but AFC South over there quietly has gotten themselves into a situation, so to speak. It is very competitive. So I don't know how severe, I don't know if you've gotten any updates, how severe that Trevor Lawrence injury was to the ankle. But that's a big injury.
It's a sprain.
Right, especially right now in this season. They're only one game ahead of two teams. The Texans won against a tough Denver defense. They got a takeaway in the end zone at the end of the game. If that pass was caught, Denver wins the game. If they get that interception, you know, they win the game and they got the pick. So Houston has put themselves in position to make a shot at that number one spot with week 14, 15, 16, 17. So they got 4 games to do it.
They 7-5.
And then also the Colts quietly are 7-5 also. Remember, the Colts also beat Jacksonville. So that gives them an advantage.
I think the Colts are on like a 4-game winning streak or something like that.
4 games. They cooking, man.
Yeah,
Colts up. So it's a tight division. I think the only team who's pretty much knocked themselves out is Tennessee in that situation. But with that injury to Trevor Lawrence and then also Christian Kirk having a groin injury. You losing your top 1 or 2 receiver. I think he oscillates between the 1 or 2 receivers sometimes, depending on what Calvin Ridley we get. You losing one of your top receivers and you losing your starting quarterback. I don't know how much Beathard can do against against to hold off those other teams. Like, what are we looking at schedule wise for Jacksonville that puts them in a position to keep the number one spot this point?
You got at the Browns. You got
good
with the Ravens.
Not good.
Tampa Bay, Panthers, and Titans. Now he has an ankle sprain. So I know when Saquon had his sprain, he was out for about 4 or 5 weeks. Maybe like 4 or 5 weeks.
They can't. I don't think he's gonna be out that long because they can't afford to have him gone that long.
Yeah, but the reaction that he had, he was like, it was really bad. Like he couldn't even walk. He
was pissed. I think he was pissed because he realized like this is a critical juncture in this game.
Yeah.
And I'm in a position to win this game.
Win it, yeah.
And I get hurt right now because my lineman steps on my damn ankle.
Yeah. So
he got folded like a lawn chair.
But I agree with you. Like that injury, if he's out for 2-3 weeks,
that
opens the gate for Houston. That opens the gate for the Colts because they've been very competitive. They've been competing in all of these games. But granted, Houston had a big injury to Tank Dell as well, who's out for the season. I think he broke his fibula, tibia, one of those things. And he's done for the season, one of the top receivers. Yeah. So that can affect them.
Nico, they still got Nico. Yeah, and then they're going to get Noah.
But, obviously he built a connection with Tank. So that kind of brings, I would say peels back a little bit. But, the Colts are competitive. They're competing. Jonathan Taylor would come back.
My only reason I'm not overly concerned about that, though, is C.J. Stroud. A lot of his passing yards, we don't know who the hell is going to be his number one target every week. Me and you talk about this in fantasy, and another one of my homies, Lorenzo, we talk about this when we talk about like props and whatnot.
Yeah.
We don't know who is going to be the guy at receiver for the Texans most weeks because it's been Nico Collins the past couple weeks, but it was Tank Dell for about 2-3 weeks. Then it might be Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
It might Noah Brown was looking good before his injury. So he distributes the ball all over the place. So I think that's already kind of built into their offense to distribute the ball. So it's not like, a team where if you take out the number one option on receiving, it just changes them. You can take out A.J. Brown on the Philadelphia Eagles. They still have Devontae, who's going to be a nice target. If you take out Tyreek Hill, they still got Jalen Waddle. But if you take out Jamar Chase, you're not getting the same production out of T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd as you get out of Jamar Chase. So I think it's one of those type of situations where that's a big hit. It's not as big of a hit.
I think so. I mean, they got the Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans again, and the Colts. So they got 3 divisional games.
Jets can't score.
They got 3 divisional games, and they got 2 really good defenses that they play.
I like my Brownies, but they just
so they got some battles. I mean, as far as all the quarterbacks that they're playing,
the Browns just started Joe Flacco.
Yeah, they got better quarterbacks
and
than all
Jets
these teams.
Can't score.
I get it, but all I'm saying is it's not going to be an easy path for them to win because these are some top tier defenses. These defenses are good. 2 of these defenses. Then you got 3 divisional games. So that's a tough. That's not an easy dubs.
It's not easy.
Dubs. They got it's some advantage, but it's gonna be a battle. You know what I mean? And I think it's gonna really be up to that last Colts game at the end of the season to determine whether or not they get in.
That's gonna be the game.
And then the Colts remain the schedule. The Colts has the Bengals, Steelers, Falcons, Raiders, and Texans. Obviously,
they got a shot.
So. I mean,
they got a good shot.
It's gonna be a battle for sure.
They got a good shot, and it sounds like basically what you just described. The Jaguars may have one of the more difficult schedules out of those 3, without
Lawrence. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's problematic.
Yeah, we'll see. It might have. It's gonna be a dogfight. Another takeaway I got is the Chiefs, man. The daggone Chiefs and the Packers. We'll talk about Chiefs and Packers. I don't know. The first thing I said when I looked at that game is nobody is afraid of the Chiefs.
No.
Nobody. It looks like Travis Kelce is not into it anymore. he just doesn't seem like he has the energy or the passion or anything. I don't know. I just don't feel like it feels like he's losing.
I feel like
some
Kelsey
steam.
always is into the game.
I don't know.
Feel like that's hard for me to say.
I don't know. It's just where I looked at him, especially in this game. It just looked like they looked a little defeated in this game. You know what I mean? Like the Packers, they were all over the Chiefs. When you watch the game, the Packers pretty much dominated the entire game, even though the score doesn't show that, right?
The Chiefs start coming back.
Yeah, the score doesn't show it, but if you're watching the game, the Packers were dominating. Jordan Love is making throws down here. Jalen Reed, Christian Watson on the run, scrambling. Like he was tearing up that defense. The Chiefs' defense could not do anything with Jordan Love. They were running the ball efficiently when they needed to.
Which is crazy because the Chiefs' defense has been so good.
Right. So it's like, the Chiefs, the fact that they don't have a downfield threat, and this is like a broken record because we talk about this every single week with the Chiefs for the most part. They don't have a downfield threat, so it's like they're not scaring anybody. You know what I mean? Patrick Mahomes has to try to figure something out and hit one of these receivers that, aren't number one guys. You know what I mean? So it's just like when Kelsey is bracketed and you're in a situation where you need to have a long third down, that's when the other teams are like, okay, we good. You know what I mean? We good because the receivers have the freaking dropsies and peanut butters and butterfingers. You know what I'm saying?
Dropsies.
So it's like those dudes, nobody's afraid of them. So I just think the Chiefs, man, granted, they didn't have any receivers last year. It's like the same team from last year.
I mean,
they won the championship.
We say this about the Chiefs a lot.
Yeah, it's the same story, and it just seems to keep repeating itself over and over. But granted, it was a call in that game that should have been pass interference on MVS inside the 5 that could have put the Chiefs in position to actually tie the game and go to overtime. So the referees were terrible.
I mean, what did you tell me about UGA versus Alabama?
It is what it is.
If you're playing how you're supposed to play, it shouldn't be that close.
I agree.
You can't leave it in there because you're playing against the Stripes too.
Right. But I didn't start off.
That's what you told me.
But I didn't start off with the referees. I started off with how the Chiefs played terribly. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, we was talking about how Green Bay was carving them up.
Yeah, Green Bay had Jordan Love was looking good. He's been looking good for the past couple of weeks. You know what I mean? They pretty much letting Jordan Love rip, man. He's getting a hold of the offense. He's throwing it across the field. He's throwing it down the field, making some crazy throws. He threw one throw up to Romeo Doubs. He caught falling down in between two defenders. He said he just threw it up there because he knew he was going to be there at the post interview. So, I mean, they're playing lights out. They're playing great. Their offense is playing really good.
They're making a playoff push.
Yeah, they're making a playoff push for sure. And that was a big game for them to win at home.
I definitely agree with you on that one, brother. They've looked like a different team over the past few weeks. The defense stepped up tremendously. The offense started clicking again. Like I said, they started looking more reminiscent of how Jordan Love started off the season. He started off well. And it just looked like a more dynamic offense. They coming out thinking they can win the game. Like, I don't think they playing against some of these other teams with a better record and saying that this team is better than us. And like you said, they weren't in fear of Mahomes.
No.
They went out there like, okay, we're going to treat him and we're going to dog walk him just like we do everybody else. I think that's their mentality.
And their defense been playing very well over the past couple of weeks.
So they're a scary team where they at right now.
They're sneaky.
They're very sneaky. Very, very, very sneaky team right there. But one of my other takeaways too, the Rams are starting to come back.
Yeah.
They on the bubble.
They got a pulse.
They're showing signs of life over there.
They got a pulse, yeah.
So I'm interested in
with the Seahawks. With the Seahawks kind of blowing it over the past couple of weeks, some
of it is blowing it, but then some of it is tough matchups. They had to play against Dallas.
Yeah,
well, I was not. Sure. They competed.
Had a shot to win.
They actually competed very well in that game, and they were almost. winning, but you getting timely plays out of people like Michael Parsons and Bland and stuff like that. Even though DK Metcalf was cooking Bland ass for a good part of that game. Yeah. So, I think the Rams are kind of sneaking up to take over that spot, and if it's a slip up, could we see the Rams in a wild card spot?
It's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. I think they do have a shot. I mean, when you got Matt Stafford, who's a competent quarterback, he's been in the league for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? He's an OG at this point. So he's seen everything. They got Kyron Williams back. That was what really turned everything around to give him that spark on the offense.
Kyron is
they were in the dogfight. They were in the dogfight with Cleveland for a little bit. You know what I mean? Obviously, the score doesn't dictate what actually happened in that game, but they were in the dogfight. They kind of broke away at the end. But nevertheless, when you got Matt Stafford, Puka had a long touchdown reception. You got Kyron Williams. They doing their thing. And like I said, with Seattle just losing week after week, seems like even though they're competing, but they losing week after week.
Right.
And the Rams are winning week after week. It's closing
that gap heavy. So, and right now they're 8 and Seattle is 9.
Yeah.
In terms of the conference ranking. So
they're giving themselves a shot. It's not they have a good shot at sneaking in the playoffs if they continue on this streak that they're going.
Yeah, I gotta look at the rest of their schedule. I think they got the Ravens in week 14, and then they have who else they got?
The rest of their schedule they
got Commanders. They got Ravens, Commanders, and Saints,
Giants, and 49ers.
And that's giving them a shot, man. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not easy sledding though.
It's not easy, but it is giving them a shot.
Give them a shot. They got a couple big games in there they got to win.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we're gonna see how that works out. But that's something that's definitely on my radar to look at. I'm not sure if you had another takeaway, but one of mine is the Falcons are slowly drifting away with this division.
Yeah, they are definitely taking the division. That's what it's looking like.
They are drifting away with this division.
Yeah, Derek Carr is not that guy. I will admit I was wrong. Publicly, I'll put that out there to you, America. I was wrong about Derek Carr. He is not it. And the New Orleans fan base, they agree with me, I'm sure, because they were booing him early on against the Lions. So
I'm not going to completely eliminate them, because they have to play against a tough Giants defense in week 15. Week 14, they got to play against the Panthers, only one win Panthers, who also quietly have a tough defense, but they're eliminated from playoff contention.
They burnt out. They done.
So they have two teams with tough defense but aren't making the playoffs. So it's not like they're completely eliminated from winning some more games if the Falcons lose some games. But I do think they are not in a favorable position because they do have to play the Falcons again. Mm-hmm. And
I mean, history shows. I mean, they be splitting, don't they? They split
a lot.
They split a lot. So like,
they're not completely eliminated. But
that's going to be a big game for them.
Losing to Detroit.
Yeah,
that caused a real nice little drift and a gap. If the Falcons can turn around and beat Tampa Bay, then I think it's a wrap.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's tough sledding for them, to be completely honest. Like, especially the way that Derek Carr has been playing. Even though they came back and had like a shot at trying to win that game,
they fought back.
You know, they fought back, went down 21-0 early first quarter.
I still don't think Chris Olave was supposed to be in that game. But there was something fishy about that.
I mean, you can still pass concussion protocol and still play the next game. It happens.
Who passed concussion protocol that fast?
People do.
Was that who passed and played?
Hell, who had it was
It's not that often.
Somebody was in concussion protocol. It was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was in concussion protocol in the 49ers game. Went out for like a series, came back and finished the game off.
But they say he cleared the protocol.
That's what I'm saying. So
and he didn't. I don't think he had an actual concussion though.
Right.
I think they said it was somebody said
they just wanted
to
check.
They was checking.
Yeah.
No, Chris Olave had a concussion.
Yeah, but he still went out there and balled.
He did.
Yeah, but the Saints in trouble. Falcons did what they supposed to do. That game was trash from beginning to end. Only one touchdown scored. It was a yucky game. It was rain. It was sloppy.
Yeah.
It was turnovers over there. The Jets offense has been the Jets offense since the beginning of the season, which is zilch, nothing, nada. All they can do is kick field goals. Their defense even spotted the offense 2 points, and they still couldn't do nothing with it. The Jets are they are in trouble.
Still scoring more points than the offense.
The defense is scoring points, and them boys still can't find a way.
More points than the offense, and that's crazy.
Yeah, they still can't find a way to score any offensive touchdowns. That's been the problem. They did have like some good throws to Garrett Wilson and all this and that, but outside of that, man, they just can't score points on the offensive side, and I still believe it's Nathaniel Hackett, you know what I mean? And
Hackett's getting up out of there?
Nah, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, he's there. That's the only reason why he's there anyway, Why would you want to hire Nathaniel Hackett after what you've seen with what he did with Denver last year? Yeah. The only reason he's there is because Aaron Rodgers wanted him there.
Yeah.
Now Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Now we see the real Nathaniel Hackett again. You know what I'm saying? They done went through 3 quarterbacks at this point, and they still can't score any dang on points.
I mean, but they gonna. He got enough. I get what you're saying. He has enough of a security blanket. I mean, he has Zach Wilson there most of the season, and people have been questioning Zach Wilson since he came in the league. Mm-hmm. So, I get it. But yeah, man, I think those are my main takeaways this week, man. I think it's very interesting setup going into week 14 of this NFL season that is flying by. It has been a blur, but there is still a lot of football left.
Yeah, it's getting very, very interesting. All of these games, they matter. They count.
Mean something.
Nobody is. It's only like a few teams that's completely out of it. Like
it's one team completely out of it. The Panthers. That's it.
Yeah, they completely eliminated, but everybody else has like a shot.
The New England Patriots still have a shot.
Yeah. And
that should put it in perspective. They're a dumpster fire, and they still got a shot.
And there's no point in talking about that game because there was no point in watching it. It was a waste of time.
6 points.
6 points, 2 field goals, 6-0. That don't make any sense. They still can't score points. But anyways, we're going to wrap this episode up. That's our Week 13 takeaways, right?
Yeah.
13 takeaways. Man. Stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to give you our rundown for Week 14, our predictions, our picks, our best bets, and our underdog of the week, man. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you comment below. Give us your takeaways from Week 13.
Gotta know.
And,
subscribe
to the channel for more. And until next time, man, the Jet, the GOAT, we'll see you on the next episode, man. Peace.
Already.